Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another D4H live stream. You know me. My name is Billy. I'm the Emergency Management Solution Specialist here at D4H, back for another phenomenal conversation with Lincoln County today. So let's bring in Josh Holland and his team and get on the way with introductions. Josh and everyone, hello. So let's first start off by going around the table with a brief circle of introductions.
Yep. Hey, Billy, I'm Joshua Holland, Lincoln County Emergency Management Planner here in North Carolina. And then to my right, your left will be, go ahead.
Darren Lefford with Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, Special Operations.
Sean Drum, Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, Special Operations.
And I'm Mark Howe. I'm Lincoln County's Emergency Management Coordinator.
Phenomenal. Thank you all very much for joining. Got a whole posse with you today. So before we get into all the goods of the D4H software, I do just want to start with a very basic background on your county, what you guys do, little characteristics of your county. And let's just start there, and we'll keep the conversation rolling from that point.
Okay. Mark?
So we're a county about 45 miles long, about 20 miles wide. So we're kind of spread out, long and narrow. We have approximately 100,000 residents right now. Normally, our biggest threats here are thunderstorms, severe weather events, but the two biggies for us are going to be thunderstorm type events. Sometimes those do spawn small tornadoes, usually EF0s, EF1s for us. And then in the wintertime, we are subject to, we're in that band in North Carolina that gets a lot of icing. So power loss, power outages, all the stuff that comes with severe winter weather. But that's, or like I said, again, the other hazard we have here is we are an EPZ county for a nuclear station. So about approximately 1/3 of our county is in the evacuation planning zone for a nuclear station. It's not actually, the nuclear station is in an adjacent county, but it's just right across the river from us. So that plays into a big part in our preparedness here in the county.
I was going to say there's a lot of variability there. I know that at least where I'm from, we used to have a nuclear plant a bit north of us and they shut it down. So then we actually, I think we might have retired the nuclear plant, but I'm not sure. But with the natural disaster variability on that, I'm sure it requires a ton of multifaceted preparation. Speaking of preparation, and so we'll tie into D4H here. So, let's start with, how did you come about D4H? What were you maybe using before D4H? And then we'll talk about, your response and planning with D4H. So kind of that origin story.
Yeah. So, before having D4H, Billy, we were using Mission Manager. Everybody knows the story. What happened with Mission Manager? They just closed down very abruptly. So we were in a very weird predicament where we had events coming up that we needed to start planning for and everything. So doing our due diligence and research, basically I found 3 different emergency management software companies that we ultimately, did demos with, and ultimately landed on D4H, being that, the platform that you guys provided would suit our needs from start to finish across the whole board. Not only the operations side of the house, but the incident reporting side of the house on the back end is what really sold us and, ultimately led us to purchasing D4H.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the incident reporting part too, because I feel like on most of the live streams, you always focus on the incident management aspect of our software. So good to hear that you're also a fan of the documentation side. So
the documentation side it's key, especially with a lot of the, just the historical aspect for the data that we have. But, we do a lot of searches, not just in our county, but other counties. And it allows us to pass off all that information very easily and to keep that documentation, which is key for us on the demographics during the search. That helps us to be able to continue to expand and increase our productivity in, those types of incidences.
Yeah, and that's a massive feature of emergency management too, with documentation to scalability as well. So hearing that you're able to at least take that information and share it effectively to multiple jurisdictions and other players, that's a massive key advantage, as we all know in the field. And what I'll do is take a quick little pause here to address the audience. So thank you all for joining, and hello again from D4H. If you have any questions whatsoever throughout the entire live stream, drop us a comment, post it in the chat, and we'll happily address it, because we're going to be covering a lot of ground. So let's jump into, maybe you want to share your screen, or maybe we can talk about it first. But I want to focus on the storm preparedness aspect, mostly because, one, we've mentioned already that you all face a variety of different environmental disasters across your jurisdiction. Two, I know that the pre-chat we were talking about, and you just mentioned it as well, but the multi-agency coordination, the giving access to those who may need to go into the software and use D4H. So let's first start with the storm preparedness, and maybe we can touch upon Hurricane Helene a little bit as well, if we want to jump into that sphere.
Yeah, absolutely. So should be sharing at this point.
Yep.
So for us, literally coming in with Hurricane Helene coming in, it was trial by fire for us. We had just finished doing the complete onboarding and completing the training with D4H, and doing full implementation of D4H within our county in July. And then shortly after, we got, Hurricane Helene come through. And as we go down, so you'll see here's our, instant or our play for Hurricane Helene, and I'll just go into it to kind of show how we track things and everything else. Obviously, we've got the log. That was a big key point for us. Utilizing the mapping feature once we do our assignments and everything. And you can see some of our fire departments and our sheriff's officers that deployed were kind of spread out here, showing where we're in two different locations. And that's because they utilized our software up in one of our sister counties, Mitchell County, to do the mission that they were tasked to do when they were deployed up there as well.
I did want to clarify too. Are these are volunteer firefighters, or they work for the emergency services? How does that connection work?
So in our county, we're a unique county where we have one municipality, and that's the city of Lincoln. And then outside that, everything else is covered by volunteer fire departments. So out of the 45-mile long county, literally 90-ish% of it is covered by volunteer firefighters. And then the sheriff's office takes a heavy hold with that as well, because the majority of the county is policed by the sheriff's office outside of Lincoln itself. Lincoln PD focuses on the city, and everything else is the county, with the sheriff's office. So we work very heavily from the emergency management, emergency services side with our, partner and agencies, being the volunteer fire departments and the sheriff's guys, and particularly the special operations team, because they do house a lot of the special teams that we utilize in the county to do our responses.
Yeah.
So the mapping software, it's great because, as you see here, as our fire departments during Helene were logged in, and they were inputting road closures at the time due to a down tree or whatever, power lines across it. So it gave us that real-time data aspect that we needed here in the EOC in order to manage and track everything that was going on. So that was a great, huge help for us. And then as far as, we activated our Swiftwater team within the county. And as you can see here, I've had it built out for our assignments. For our Swiftwater ones, we had 2 total assignments built out for them. But then if you go to here to the 204 assignments, that's a different aspect for those assignments. And you'll see I had 21 total assignments built out. And these are going to vary from equipment being taken out. This is what we used it for this time for Helene, was really tracking all the missions that our county deployed to support. So overall, our county had 21 total missions that we supported with, our fellow sister counties outside of our jurisdiction by taking equipment, supplies, and personnel up to those locations in order to help them out.
Yeah. If you don't mind me digging into this a little bit more, because I really appreciate how you took the ICS 104, 204 assignments that are usually forms, usually just documents, and you changed it into an actionable, like live time dashboard, a status board here at D4H. And so can you just walk me through maybe that process of how that has changed, I guess, the ability to track resources and move quickly throughout an emergency?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and we looked at just utilizing it as a form, and we do have it on the forms as well. But we wanted something that was more user friendly at the end unit level. So sitting with my team here, we looked at everything and discussed it, and we decided to just make it as a module on the left hand side. That way, we can easily create that data. We can show it on the dashboard itself to show us how many missions we've got, what's in progress, and what's not even started, and what's completed at that point. That way it gives us that snapshot on here. And to be honest, we don't even use the 204 or the 104 form itself, because now we have these modules, and it just allows us to build out that data so much quicker and effectively push it out to the field, to those teams for those assignments in a much faster method, in my opinion. I mean, Darren, Sean, you guys y'all were the force behind creating those modules. Y'all asked for it and we made it happen. So
on our 104s that we use for search, we sort of made it sort of as a checklist as well. So that when they create an assignment, they can look at that and have sort of a checklist as well as what the assignment's going to be doing, what their job is going to be doing.
Absolutely. And I have a follow-up for all three of you. I know because Josh told me he does the building, and then Sean and Darren do all the operational aspect of like applying that actual, operation. So the first is, how easy would you say was it to create something like this in our software? And then the second one, and maybe this is more for Darren and Sean, is, you're not using necessarily a standardized ICS form, but I know you've mentioned, communicating those assignments lifetime, but what about that documentation, that printability? And maybe we can tie in a little bit about how you've been able to at least still manage all that proper documentation, whether that's in the incident reporting or the actual incident management export itself. I know it's like a two-pronged.
That was one of my biggest things was when I was looking for software was our after action reports for our searches, and being able to give a good documentation to tell the story to, send to all of our partners out there, and for us to go back and research, our calls for the year to pull off our data. And with this software, we're able to put these key points in there where at the end of the year, we can track, how many of them were missing during the day, how many were missing at night, and how many of them were elderly, and what type of category that we can put these people in that are missing to help us on our searches and so forth. Mm-hmm. So Sean and I and our other partner Spencer, we sat down with each of our different type of disciplines, teams and stuff, and we tried to create documentations or a 104 assignments based off of the response that we're using in the field to make it work better. Like on Swiftwater, we want to be able to, if there's multiple victims in the water, we want to be able to track how many were located, how many were actual rescued, and how many of them were just still out there that need to be rescued. Things like that is important. And with the dashboard, that incident commander or the operation person can quickly at a glance look at it to determine that.
Yeah.
And then,
go for that. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I was just going to say, and as far as the ability to create something, literally when we were at one of our biggest events, the Apple Festival, just this last year, I was out doing my walking around and everything, and we ended up getting a missing child. Now we have the full missing person report, that we would do for a missing person. However, for that type of event, we don't need all that demographic information necessarily. So therefore, I walked back into the incident command, and literally Darren was like, Josh, we need a new module made, and we need it done now. We need to be able to track missing persons. And literally within 2 to 3 minutes, I had a very rough template up, and that we were able to automatically start inputting data into, and even had a dashboard view, built out, color coded and everything to show the status of those missing individuals. So if you know the system, you get in and you play with it, you can pick up on how to do that stuff extremely quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I love playing with the software. So to hear that universability of just easily creating something is very consistent from use case to use case. Before we do switch over to the Apple Festival, because that's a whole other critical event, massive event management space, I did want to briefly bring up that, so obviously you used to use a different software that's no longer active before D4H, but if you were to compare the experience of trying to run a hurricane of this scale to a older software or a previous software that you used to D4H, if you could just kind of talk about that comparison and the benefit of D4H or maybe the disadvantage of D4H at that point.
I'll let y'all answer that because
I was here at the implementation of Mission Manager and also for D4H, of course. I will say that hands down, D4H is more user friendly, not only on the end user side of it, but the pocketbook holder, so to speak. And I'm gonna use the dashboard because he's got it up. If a dignitary walked in, we could actually show them what's going on in Lincoln County right now, at that moment during that incident. So we didn't have that capability with the older software. We could either download it as a PDF and then send it as an email, or then go somewhere else and print it, where this right here is live. Mission Manager, yes, was a little live, but also it was delayed as well. So This is, to the minute.
Great. No,
I do like about D4H is the ability for us to share the product with others, not just responders, but our government officials. They do have access to D4H. They can log in from their office or wherever they're located at, county manager, board of commissioners folks, that type of oversight folks with us. So they know real time where we stand in our response activities. And they have access to the boards we give them access to, which is pretty much everything. So we like to share that data with them because truly that's what they want to know. How are we responding to effectively service the needs of our citizens?
And search wise, I like the assignments. We can email the teams the assignments in the field. We don't necessarily have to bring them back in. And we can also debrief the teams. We built our 104s out at the bottom so the guys can literally, when they finish their assignment, as they're sitting there rehabbing, they can debrief, fill out the debriefing part, the team leaders on their phones in the field, and we can see that live inside the command post to make a judgment on whether we need to research that area or not. We don't necessarily have to bring them all the way back into the command post. We can reassign them by sending an email back out with a new assignment. So that's something that we could not do before.
And I can tell you, I'm going to switch over real quick to this gas and search. One of the biggest things that truly has helped us out as well is going to be right here in this clues that we've established. So as our teams are out searching and doing, their whatever type of search it is, whether it's a hasty search or grid search or anything, they can literally from their phone take a clue and we can get that clue data, that picture, its physical location by GPS coordinates and everything, and a description of it directly in the incident command that allows us to do a lot better when it comes to planning in a more timely fashion based off of those clues. Then turn around and they mark it, or somebody else has to go out and collect it and bring it back to the incident command, and then we look at it, evaluate it, and just the ability to, especially in a search and rescue type aspect, to get that information forthcoming and not have to sit and wait for somebody to bring it to the incident command. It just creates our planning efforts so much more effortlessly and smoothly, that allows us to do what we do as a search and rescue team in this county and support the citizens that we are here to support and hopefully find people alive versus the alternate.
Right, absolutely. And I know that we don't have the mobile app prep today, but sometimes mobile applications can also be a little bit uncomfortable. But how have your colleagues, partner agencies enjoyed? Like, have they enjoyed using the mobile app? It seems like it's pretty transformative in terms of the way that you ingest information live time.
Sean, you want to take that, being that you're at Denver Fire Department also? They use it heavily.
So yeah, I actually play two roles. I'm also battalion chief for Denver Fire Department.
Okay.
So we actually use it as much as we can at Denver, and I will personally say that I've used it on every deployment Denver Fire Department has went on since we purchased D4H. It was very easy to, I guess, train the trainer, so to speak, at Denver, because everything moved pretty quick because of Helene, but it was very easy for all, and if you can get firemen to pick up on something pretty easy, you're doing something. So
I was going to say, I was a former firefighter for a few years in my local town, and the learning curve is interesting. Smartest people you'll meet, but hand them a phone and something else happens. And what I'll do before we jump into the Apple Festival here, because we just get our first question from someone in the audience. I believe it's Hans, might be the name. And I'll, this is kind of a vague question, so I'll hand it off to you first before maybe I hop in with my sales prepped answer. From your experience, can D4H be used to curb crime in communities, like a neighborhood watch, or I guess any sort of volunteer group in that regard, if you were to apply your experience to that question?
I don't know if it would work.
It would show our hot spots.
Yes and no. It could show, like hot spots for potential crime. It could help with, depending on how you set it up, pushing data to folks, like, especially if that neighborhood watch could potentially be tied in with the law enforcement, pushing that information directly from that neighborhood watch to that law enforcement. It could help out in that aspect, but mostly it's not something we really dive into. So I'm going to defer that really back to you, Billy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to say too, I think you kind of hit it on the head where it's, that live time communication really is just second to none. So if you were to work amongst a lot of different neighborhood watch members, or how they wanted to communicate about different analytics or observations or photos or what they're tracking live time, that can be absolutely applied to that same scenario. And then you can always mold the software to whatever works for your use case. As we've talked about throughout the live stream so far, the ability to just create something really within a few seconds is really just extremely powerful in our software. And even though we're just talking about emergency management, we've brushed upon the different topics of law enforcement, firefighting, emergency response. The flexibility with software is really something else. So thank you for tag teaming that question there. Let's jump into the Apple Festival a little bit and switch gears to focus on critical event management and festival management. So I guess rather than the response aspect, let's focus more on the planning and the preparedness. So do you want to walk me through how maybe you guys have approached a festival as opposed to a natural disaster or a first response?
Absolutely. I'm going to turn that pretty much over to Darren, because he does almost all the planning aspect in regards to our festivals and stuff.
So we treat it as we go with our planning P, and we bring all of our key players into the room, and all of our officials and all the players, and we start just basically going through the planning P process. And then what's the advantage of this is, where I used to have to gather everybody's assignments and enter them in, now we let them, they all have access to this. So the law enforcement side, I'll build out our law enforcement assignments. EMS will build out their EMS assignments, and our fire departments will do the same, and traffic traffic control people, we can give them all the traffic control points. When we build out the maps, we can email that to them. And then when we have our meetings and stuff, we can display all this and bring it all together as far as telling giving the operational briefing. So it's a great tool as far as everybody has access to it and they can work on it from their place at their own time.
Yep, absolutely. And I would say too, as a former planning section member, having others do the work for you is really just great in the midst of an emergency. I did want to bring up here, and I don't know if you have it prepped, but I'm curious because you mentioned the planning P and obviously experience with emergency management, but how have you, if applicable, and if not, this is a feature that's coming later on this year, how have you established a battle rhythm with D4H? Do you have a reference battle rhythm, whether it's a meeting schedule or, some sort of process that you have in D4H? And if not, that's totally fine. I just wanted to see if it was an applicable question.
Well, I would say that, when we start our planning for any of these events, we'll just have our, the simple planning P meetings and, like I said, just work on the different aspects of what needs to get done. Mm-hmm. We'll look at all the, like you said, he's got up here, the road closures, the traffic control points, any special assignments that need to be done, our resource ordering. We use the resource ordering chart over there, resource request. Again, I love that, especially during our hurricane. The guys from, away from here was ordering resources, and it was emailing to Josh and I and Mark what it was needed from each discipline that we could get sent out there. So a lot of, it's a great tool for the planning part of it and building all out of our assignments.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I know that this might seem a little bit of like a repeat question, but I did kind of want to emphasize more so the centralized aspect of emergency management, right? Because with the festival, you usually have your pre-positioned, okay, we know this county is going to be involved, this community is going to be involved, this agency is going to be involved. And so you're tying in a lot of different jurisdictions. A response aspect, you're kind of escalating and scaling as it's going. But if you could kind of compare maybe previous experiences to now using it with D4H, how has it been with that centralized platform? And how do you, I know you kind of already mentioned it about having multiple status boards or multiple people dumping in their information, but if you could just speak to that kind of experience a little bit, if possible.
Mark?
So with an event like an Apple Festival, we do sort of have a set number of normal responders who bring their skills to the table to help us put on a successful event like that. But being able to share so the city of Lincolnton is actually where the festival is at. So that's a different jurisdiction than the county. And within the city, they have city fire and city police. Then they don't have enough resources to bring about an event this size. So then they bring in the sheriff's department. And we also need additional fire resources, either to provide backfill and that sort of thing. Layer on top of that, the need for medical support for this event. As you can see, it's about 12 blocks long, about 4 blocks wide. At the peak of the event, we had approximately 50,000 people in that 12 block by 4 block wide footprint. So providing the necessary roadblock security services, oversight, and we were actually flying drone missions as well. So as the drone missions we had drone coverage the entire time the festival was going on. We had a drone in the air the entire time. So we're able to watch what's going on the ground with drone footage. And getting those reports and them coming back in through D4H just gave us a better feel of how things were going at the festival level. So as an emergency manager, having that aspect at my fingertips. And the other thing was knowing where everybody was at. So the mapping piece of it actually did play into like knowing who was at what traffic control point. We can actually call out, hey, that sector is so-and-so, and they need to be on the lookout for this missing child. Tell sector 3, everybody in it. So we know who's in sector 3 because it's already on D4H. It's one click, boom, I'm there. Now I know I can radio out to that, responder and say, hey, I need you to now do this. So it's just very powerful in the actual operational piece of it. Not only in the pre-planning, but during the event, having that ability to quickly find what we needed to address anything that came up. And we did have medical events during the event as well. So where's my closest ambulance? Where are my closest medics at? Where are they stationed? So being able to quickly know they're at the corner of, Grape and Vine, and now I need them, 2 blocks down, patient description, we can radio that out, get them there. I mean, response, rapidity is important. So even during a festival. The other thing is, what if we had to take a patient out of the festival? What are our open roads? Where can we quickly get that patient, to, definitive care? So, making sure that we have all that laid out, and that map really helps us to manage that a little bit better.
So one thing also, our big events, or at our big events, is missing children is one of our big things, and then also our medical, the medical side of it. So Josh actually worked on the triage part of it for our medics. So not only that, if on the triage part of this event, we actually can color code them as far as what priority they are. And then, so the medics have their own dashboard that they can look at. We're all sitting in the command post in the room there, and the medical sector division there, she can look at that and see how many ambulances she still has available, and what the patients on the mass casualty, what colors they are, and report that to the higher ups. She can keep up with that on the dash.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And both responses really just puts together what I love about D4H, and why I wish a lot more counties also start to use D4H. I think also what I really appreciate, and this was really well said, was, I think it was, from the pre-planning to the response, every aspect is connected lifetime at your fingertips. The fact that you don't really have to have like a binder or a static PDF or a Microsoft Word document. You can put that into an actionable dynamic play in D4H and grow that and use that as your entire event or incident progresses. So it truly makes emergency management ridiculously fluid from start to finish, which is really, really cool.
So one thing on that, Billy, you're talking about on our planning side of it. So when this comes around again, because these events, we use them every year, we do that final mission report. And what we like about that, for any surge or any event, we have our teams build and write up a final mission report, and whoever's in command. And that's basically telling the story of what happened and how many people they treated, or what happened at the event, what we need to change and do better. So at the end of the year, or at the next time, we'll store them reports in the library, and we can pull that up for the next year and say, all right, here's the IEP for the last call, for last time this happened, and here is what we need to work on. We need to either fix, or what went well, what didn't, so we can reevaluate it again.
Yeah. I was gonna say too, when you all pulled up this after you archived this incident too, and then just reactivated it, the recovery aspect always kind of gets a little bit lost in the sauce, I would say, in terms of the glory of emergency management, and the fact that you now can quite literally control your documentation with the click of a button, and that after action ability that just saves lives going down the line for sure.
So our last search we had, for instance, it was 161 page long report. And
nice.
the problem with that is trying to even, we scanned it in, it would not even email. So we had to put it on a flash drive. Well, we were working with our other county part or next door neighbors on that search. And Josh had created a guest for him. So I was able to give him that report, live right there as soon as we generated. I put it in the library and he was able to print it off right there from another county,
Yeah.
So
That's incredible. I mean, the fact that, we're moving on from thumb drives and paper documents, but that's really cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why I'm impressed. I know the software, but it's really, it's amazing to hear how you guys are using that really, really effectively. Before I do switch gears to kind of the more latter part of the live stream where we talk about thoughts, opinions, whatnot, are there any other features, any other highlights, any other operational aspects that you really want to just show here from Lincoln County and the use of D4H?
Yeah, so we got, McGuire here. We're gearing up for we're in our year for evaluation with FEMA and everybody else in regards to our actions if a nuclear incident ever took place.
Yeah.
So one thing, as you can see, it can be a lot of detail, right? It's a lot of information on the map aspect, and you guys have greatly improved the mapping aspect already, based off of some recommendations and requests that we've done and other counties have done, and just continue to evolve it. I mean, really, because I would love to be able to, right here where you see, if I create a 204 assignment, I would love for those 204 assignments to just be, additionally down here like these are, to where I can toggle just that one off or that, or leave it on based off of the needs that we have at that point in time. Especially that would be great when it comes to briefings and everything. So that way the map does not just look cluttered, especially if I have to import a KML file into the mapping software for D4H. But you guys are constantly improving. I mean, as far as interaction with you guys, I've got a direct connect to GP. If I have any questions in regards to, building something or making something, or I mess up on the coding to, for the dashboard view or something, you guys are always there and quick to jump on a chat with me real quick to walk me through it, or just, what, we hadn't thought about that, but let me get with our engineers to see what we can do in regards to implementing that into the software. And it's been great. I mean, the relationship that we've got with you guys is great, and I'm eager to continue it and build it and help develop the program for you guys and with you guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say that spill map, the heat map right there is actually really impressive. I love the colors on the layer upload there. And I mean, GP is the man. We all love GP. So shout out to GP on the call as well. I did also want to briefly touch on this before I ask my two final questions. But would you identify yourself as like a coder? It's like a data background kind of guy, or?
Absolutely not. When it came to coding and stuff, they wanted me to handle like the API integration aspect.
Yeah.
And I told my boss that, if he wanted me to do that, then he's going to have to send me to school to get trained on it and pay me more money.
Yep. Yeah,
but obviously that didn't happen, so I'm not doing any coding. We've pushed a lot of that off to our IT guys who's, they do that, and they're integrated into it, in particular one individual that helps us a lot with this stuff.
Awesome. No, that's amazing. So yeah, I got two more questions. I would say I guess 2.5. The first one is, and I love asking my customers this questions and also anyone who uses D4H, but what was kind of that one aha moment when you were using D4H where you were kind of like, oh, like, this is why we have it. This is why we need it. Like, this is the validation of that add-in and the implementation and everything.
I know what the answer is for me. I'll let these guys speak, and then
I think my aha moment came during our Helene response when I had 9 different missions running simultaneously. 6 of those missions had human personnel involved in them. The other ones were equipment missions, but with 6 missions, and these are people that are deployed out of county in other counties, and trying to keep track of how they're doing, what they're doing, are there needs that they have, and how, and being able to do that real time through D4H, because those guys were literally, mission by mission, wherever they were deployed, entering data into their 214s and their 218s, and they're giving, situation reports, but literally minute by minute. So that gave me a good amount of confidence that we were taking care of our people. It's all about, for me as the emergency management coordinator, is what am I doing to take care of my people? Do they have what they need? Are they able to be effective where they are? So that was kind of my aha moment. It was a moment where normally I would have been literally overwhelmed just trying to make phone calls to six. Well, the other thing was, just to be truthful about it, we had no cell phone service. Yeah. So the ability of D4H for those guys in the field to take their cell phones and continue to enter data, and whenever they were able to connect to the web, be that through a Starlink or whatever it was, immediately it uploaded. So, sometimes there was delays. A team would be out in the field for a couple hours, but as soon as they got back to where connectivity was there, it would automatically update and upload. So that was, to me, that gave me some confidence that we were doing what we needed to do. And that wasn't, even in my county, but it's my people. So it is my county, right? No matter where they're deployed, they're still our folks. So that was my aha moment.
Absolutely. And then I guess we'll go to Sean next, in the order of what I'm looking at. Yeah.
So I guess my aha moment was I was actually working at Denver Fire Department during Helene.
Yeah.
And me being able to be out in the field, so to speak, at Denver, away from the EOC, and still let Josh and Mark know that, hey, this is what we've got going on in Denver's area. So kind of, so to speak, act like a area command where I don't have to get on the cell phone and call them. They can actually see it and say, hey, here's the damages that we have listed so far. Here's the road closures due to flooding and all. And essentially it was just me at the keyboard doing what I needed to do and not have to call 100 times on the phone.
Absolutely. Yeah, makes perfect sense. And then between Josh and Darren, I don't know who wants to go first for the
Go ahead.
So I think mine is the interoperability, being able to get the real-time data from our guys in the field, whether it be the clue logs or the pictures from the events, the situational reports that we're getting to go along with everything. I think it's great. And then I love being able to tell the whole story, the reporting side of it, the final, being able to put all this together as a one report to tell the story. Really love that. I feel like in my 40-something years of career, this is finally, I've got a great after-action report to be able to send out.
That's crazy. That's a big statement. I was going to say, because I'm only 28, so that's saying something. Getting a good after-action report, not to age or anything. I'm just going to stop there before I dig too much of a hole for myself. But Josh, go for it.
Let's see. I mean, for me, Billy, I was a year in the seat here in the county, pretty much when we transitioned over to D4H, and then going through, even though looking at multiple different programs and stuff to utilize, going through purchasing you guys, and then going through all the training and building out this stuff. And then my aha moment was really seeing it implementation, the first time during an actual event. And that was Helene, the way that we were able to connect cross agencies and be able to track information from all the agencies within the county, whether they were deployed or in county, was just mind blowing, and allowed us to be able to keep better information here within the EOC to provide support to those agencies as needed based off of what their needs was at that time. And allowed us to better, implement our planning aspect here and, the resources that we have and be able to allocate those appropriately for, across the county, even outside the county to ultimately help citizens in North Carolina.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all. And so I know that we're going slightly over time, but I did want to press on one more thing because we always love transparency and honesty here at D4H. And to your point of us always improving and looking for ways to improve the software. But if you can't think of anything, what maybe do you not like about the software, or what would you like to see improved in the future with the software? And if not, that's also fine. I'll take the win and walk with it.
You can do that now. I'll show you. So we just had one of the things was like checking in, right?
Right.
So, which we figured that piece out. How our folks when they arrive on scene can check in. But the biggest piece is those outside of our agency. If we use mutual aid and bringing someone in that's outside of our county that's not already their information in D4H, how do we go about what's the best way to get them checked into our system and to be able to utilize the system that we're using that way they've got the same information we have. That would be one of the biggest things I think improvement wise that would help you guys stand out more above anybody else than you already are. Is being able to tie in those outside agencies and resources into what we currently have.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then obviously, the mapping piece,
Right.
still in, talks with GP, frequently about, just continue improving that, so we can get those subfolders within subfolders, to be able to turn those things off. So that way it doesn't look like a big, blob when we do pull up that map. And if we turn off the assignments, then every assignment turns off, so that would be the two biggest things. I would say, continue to improve on, and I mean, if you guys could, of Sartopo, if y'all could get your mapping software like Sartopo, I'm going to be honest, there's no need for me to have Sartopo in this county. Then we would be doing everything straight from D4H.
Yep. Absolutely. You're preaching to the choir. I completely understand. Really great feedback. Thank you all for that, and also for all the positive praises as well with D4H. So I know that we've gone about 2 or 3 minutes over, so we will just be doing our goodbyes here. So I want to thank again Darren, Josh, Sean, and Mark, all of you for coming on the call today and talking about your experience with D4H. And we're looking forward to a really, prosperous future together, and looking forward to how you continue to innovate the software for us. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Billy. We appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Of course. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you all so much.
Bye.